Work used to mean something. It used to be a stepping stone, a path to success, stability, and maybe even purpose. But today, for millions of people, it feels like a trap. And maybe you felt it too. You clock in, you do your tasks, and you collect your paycheck. But deep down, something feels off. And you wonder if this is all there is. You feel exhausted, not just by the workload, but by the feeling that your work isn't really yours. It's not just about stress, it's not just about long hours, and it isn't just about bad bosses, although all of those are problems that we have to encounter. But the real issue is that our jobs fail to align with these stories that we tell ourselves about who we are and who we want to become. We want to go in one direction, but our work pulls us in another. We want our lives to be dramatic and interesting, but our work is often dull and boring. And the larger that gap grows, the worse that we feel stuck, drained, and even lost. And this isn't just a personal crisis, it is a cultural shift. More people than ever feel disconnected from their work. Burnout is at record highs, and job satisfaction is plummeting. So, what's going on? Why is work getting worse? And more importantly, is there a way to fix it? Hello, I'm Gene of the Space Guild. Before we begin, be sure to like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, think about this. When you were younger, what did you imagine your future would look like? Maybe you saw yourself as a creator, or an innovator, or someone who made a real difference in the world. You had dreams of a career that felt fulfilling, exciting, and even meaningful. But then reality hit. You took a job that seemed like the right choice. Maybe it paid well, maybe it was safe, or maybe it was just the best option available. But over time, you began to feel the disconnect. Why does that happen? It happens because we all have a personal story, an internal narrative about who we are and what we want our lives to look like. And when our jobs do not fit into that story, work becomes more than just tiring, it becomes alienating and soul crushing. Psychologists call this identity misalignment, when what you do every day contradicts how you see yourself. It's why someone with a passion for creativity feels drained in a rigid corporate job, or why somebody who values freedom feels suffocated in a role that demands strict rules and does not permit autonomy. This gap between our self image and our work image creates frustration, anxiety, and depression. And it's not just personal. Entire generations are experiencing this all at once. But why is it happening now? What changed to make work feel worse than ever? And how do we actually go about fixing it? Why does work feel worse than ever? And what changed? Well, one big shift is that work used to be about survival. It used to be about putting food on the table and providing for a family. But today, work is expected to provide meaning, a sense of purpose, identity, and fulfillment. But the problem is that most of our jobs were not designed for that. Instead, many of our jobs today feel empty. They are full of meetings, bureaucracy, and pointless tasks. And if you finish your workday feeling exhausted, but if someone asked what you actually did, you wouldn't even know what to say in a way that would sound dignified. It's not just physical exhaustion, it is an existential crisis. Now, the writer David Graeber called these types of jobs bullshit jobs, roles that exist but serve no real purpose. And with automation and AI taking over many functional tasks, more jobs are becoming about managing systems, filling reports, and maintaining structures rather than creating value. And then there is the issue created by social media. We are constantly fed stories of people who supposedly love their jobs, who work from Bali, or have turned their hobbies into six-figure businesses. It makes traditional jobs feel even worse by comparison and creates the illusion that we're all falling behind. And all of this adds up to a massive disconnect. We expect work to be meaningful, but most of it isn't. So, how do we fix this? How do we realign work with who we actually are and with whom we want to be? Let's talk solutions. So, if the problem is that our jobs fail to align with who we are and with whom we want to be, then the solution is superficially obvious. We need to bring work and identity back into alignment. But how do we do that? Well, first, you need to become certain on what actually matters to you. You need to forget things like job titles, salaries, or what society says that you should want, and instead ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? Following that question, you need to ask, what kind of work would that person do, and what kind of work would allow me to become that person? What values do I want my job to reflect? Do I need more creativity, autonomy, or impact? And once you understand that, you have two options. You can either reshape your current job or pivot into a new one. Now, if quitting isn't an option, then you can look for ways to mold your job into something that fits you better. Maybe that means renegotiating different responsibilities, or shifting towards more meaningful projects, or even setting boundaries to protect what matters most to you. And if that's not enough, then it may be time for a career shift and possibly a move to another location. Now, it doesn't mean that you need to quit tomorrow, but it does mean that you can begin taking steps, learning new skills, networking, and testing new opportunities so that you can transition to work that closely aligns with who you are and who you want to be. The bottom line is that work is not the enemy. Misaligned work is the enemy. And when we start designing our work to fit our true selves, everything about our attitude towards it changes. So here's the truth: work isn't broken, it's just misaligned. For too long, we've been told that a job is just a paycheck, or worse, that our job should define us completely. And in many cases, people who say that are right. But the reality is that work often feels worse when it doesn't fit the story we tell ourselves about who we are and who we want to become. And yet it could. The solution, therefore, isn't to escape work, but it is to make it work for us. We need to find work that transforms us into the kinds of people whom we wish we were. Now, that might mean reshaping our current job, setting boundaries, or even making a career shift. It doesn't have to be overnight, but the goal is clear. You must align your work with your vision of who you want to be. Because when your work and your identity are in sync, everything changes. You feel more engaged, more fulfilled, and ironically, more productive. Work ceases to be a source of frustration and begins becoming a tool for personal growth. Of course, change isn't always easy. There are risks, challenges, and moments of doubt. But the biggest risk is constantly remaining in a job that pulls you ever farther away from the person whom you wish you were. So, what is your biggest struggle with work right now? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and to hit the bell for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. With Elenarda, I'm Gene Botkin. End transmission.